No, instead of waiting on a good day, waiting around through ups and downs, waiting on something to happen, I just said,
we're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today.
That's right.
And all these mommies look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today.
How's it going? I'm Michael Fokes, the Director of Snowboarding Hard Goods at DC. I want to run you through some of the new features in our Winter 12 boots first. The first thing is our new fit. All of our boot fits have been redesigned using our new one-to-one golden last. So the first thing is one-to-one. This means that for every size we make, every whole size, every half size, we make a liner last, a shell last, and an outsole tool. So it's a big investment in a proper fitting boot. With that new last, we've made a lot of updates to our fit. To increase heel hold, we have put more forward lean into the boots. We've brought the heel pocket in and made it narrower. We've made more defined anatomical J-bars. We've reduced the volume in both the instep for heel hold and then also in the toe box for a more high performance feel. Altogether, the new last works as a system with the shell and the liner, and with a tight fit we've reduced the overall size of the boots, so we made them much slimmer, lower profile, and reduced the footprint by one full size. So what was the size of last year's 12 is now the outsole size of an 11. That may be confusing. Last year we introduced a new outsole technology called Unilite, and we've now expanded that to be on every boot in our line. What Unilite is an injection molded EVA, extremely durable, you get a lot of definition, so you get a good traction, good tread pattern with the same cushioning properties of EVA at a very, very light weight. At the top end boots, we have our Unilite with Impact G. This also features some advanced gel cushioning in the heel for impact resistance. It has a tread pattern that is directional, so in the heel the treads go forward to brake as you go downhill. In the forefoot the treads come back so they grip as you go uphill. And then we also have our new push zone, which is a tread pattern that comes from under the ball of your foot, wraps up around the side of the boot, and that's for skating through the lift lines. So that's featured on all the Unilite soles. The next version is the Park version, which is a slimmer, lower profile, kind of skate style feel to it, and then also features a push zone traction story. And then the newest version is on our price point boots, and this is 100% foam sole, extremely lightweight, and also features the same directional traction story. So next we're going to talk about some of the DC boot closure systems. The first one is our Constrictor Boa system. Constrictor is designed to use Boa to its best effect. With Boa, what we've discovered is that it works more effectively if it's covering a shorter distance and the cables run in a very straight line. You get more power and more leverage. So you can see all the cables run in very short distance, straight lines, connected to these constrictor straps that wrap around the boot and give you incredible heel hold and incredible power. On the high-end constrictor boots, we have the constrictor on the lower with the reel on the side. One of the things you'll notice is that we moved all the reels from the outside of the boot to the inside of the boot. This is to make them compatible with new binding systems that feature winged high backs. On the upper portion of the boot, we have a completely separate zone that just works with the articulated upper cuff for a very simple, clean, and powerful closure on the upper. So that's the constrictor system. So new for this year on mid-price boots, the men's Gizmo model and the women's Sweep model. We feature the Constrictor Hybrid. So this boot has the Boa constrictor closure on the lower portion of the boot, and then a traditional lacing system on the upper cuff of the boot. So it's got the perfect combination of the power of Boa, but then the ease and flexibility of traditional lacing. So my personal favorite new closure system is our winch. The way the winch works, it's a new Boa system to enhance traditional lacing. One of the problems with most traditional lace boots is getting the right amount of power across your instep for better heel hold. So the way the winch works is you lace up the boot just as you would any traditional lace boot, but then it has these guides across the instep that are attached to the Boa cable system. You turn this, pulls back here on both sides, creates a tighter system, tighter fit across your instep. So now I want to talk about some of our traditional lace boot technologies. The first is what we call direct power lacing. What we found is that if we extend out the lacing eyelets and put them on a soft, flexible section of the shell, you get more power and more leverage, wraps your foot better, and we really focus this power on the instep. So you can see this is extended forward, this is extended forward, gives you more power and leverage for better heel hold across the middle. The next feature in our traditional lace boots is our hardware. We call it wrap lock hardware. The way wrap lock works is the hooks have a channel around the front. So if you want to create a zonal lacing system, if you want to lock off the bottom from the top, you just wrap all the way around the channel, pull it tight, and the lace is locked in place. That's our new wrap lock hardware. So next I want to talk about our Aerotech venting system. At the end of the day, when you finish riding and your socks are soaking wet, most people tend to think like, oh man, water got in my boots and made my feet soaking wet. But the reality is that snowboard boots are completely waterproof. They're so waterproof that they don't let any moisture out either. So all that moisture that builds up on your socks is actually your foot sweating. That's perspiration. So what we've designed with the Aerotech is a system to let that moisture escape and get away from your foot. Through the use of this ventilated EVA material, it allows moisture to escape away from your foot and then escape out of the boot. So we have these vents above the toe and then also on the top of the liner, and then these integrate with vents that are built into the shell and then comes out the top of the shell. So the Aerotech venting system is featured on our top end models. The Status has its Aerotech. This is the Sceptor, the Judge, and also new for this year, we feature Aerotech venting on all of our park liners. So next I want to tell you about our Park Series boots. The Park Series boots all feature our Park liner. This short liner is a totally new system, really effective, exclusive to DC for a better skate style feel. The way it works is the upper cuff is articulated. The articulation in the upper cuff does a few things. It allows the boot to have a smooth flex. It reduces the amount of shell distortion, so when you flex forward, the shell does not expand and lose heel hold. And then also it creates a more durable boot, because as the boot flexes with this articulation relief, you don't get the same breakdown of shell materials. So the shell is much more durable and the flex kind of stays consistent over a longer period of time. The problem that we ran into with the articulation is that we were able to build it into the shell, but didn't have a way to build it into the liner. So even though we reduced the amount of shell distortion, when you flexed the boot, you still got some distortion of the liner inside. So with the new Park liner, the short liner, you put it on your foot first, step into the boot, it sets into the upper cuff, and then the upper cuff has its own padding and structure built in. So the upper cuff and the lower boot fit together as a system, but when the boot flexes, no matter how much you flex and tweak in any direction, the lower boot is unaffected and the heel hold remains the same and locks your heel in. So you get a soft boot with excellent ankle support, and that's the park liner system. New for this year, we've brought back leather to snowboard boots. Genuine leather is an amazing material. It breaks in well, it's extremely durable, it lasts a long time, it gives the boots a better feel, so 10, 20, 30, 40 days down the road, leather boots just keep getting better. Snowboarding has gone away from leather boots in the last decade and gone to all synthetic leathers and nylons, but we're bringing leather back this year. It's featured on our top end models. The status boot features all full grain leather, and this isn't your typical leather. DC has worked with material suppliers to create a new generation of leather for snowboard boots that is extremely weather resistant and waterproof. All of these leathers are silicone impregnated, so they're very durable and very weather resistant. Leather is also featured on the Scepter SE, so it's the special edition model of the Scepter, all in full grain leather, as well as the Super Park SE, also all in full grain leather. So now we're going to talk about some of our snowboard technologies. First is all of our boards feature a unique tip and tail shape. We call the radius to flat. The way this works is just like any tip and tail, from the transition zone or the contact points up to the tip, we have a radius, but instead of continuing that radius, we go into a flat section at the tip and tail. These flat sections just give you excellent stability and great lift in powder, bringing the nose or tail of the board up. Also help you stick landings in deep snow. So that's the radius to flat tip. The next feature that we have on all of the boards in our line is exclusive to our factory, GST. It's called Struck Turn. This is a dimpled surface texture in the base of the board. What this does is it breaks the surface tension. As your board goes across the snow, it actually is melting the snow, and you're running the board on a thin layer of water. This water between the base and the snow creates some suction. So when your board feels sticky or it's sucking to the snow, it's that suction that's slowing you down. By having the struck turn texture, it breaks that tension and helps the board glide faster. So an excellent technology on all of our snowboards, the struck turn. So next I'm going to talk about Camber Core. The Camber Core is a core profile feature that enhances the way all of our anti-camber or rocker style boards ride. With a traditional camber board like Ika's board or the MLF, which has 6 millimeters of traditional camber, the way the core is profiled is thinnest in the tips and tails. The core will taper and then become thick and more powerful under your feet, then gets slightly thinner in the middle to give the board some torsional flex, allow you to foot steer and control the board, and then the same out into the tail. With a anti-camber board, since we don't have the advantage of camber to give us pop, we needed to kind of engineer a new way to bring pop and stability into the board. So what we've done is we've taken the thickest section of the core and we pushed it to just outside of the bindings. So as you come out from the bindings, you can see there's a little lift here and there's a little bit of an arch, and you have a thick section of the core just outside of the bindings. The way this works is that when you're loading up for ollies, It adds more pop and power and stability into the tips and tails of the anti-camber boards, giving it a cambered feel. In addition, it changes the way the fiberglass works. So the fiberglass, if on a regular rocker board, is just kind of falling away from the surface of the snow, there's no tension in that fiberglass. And the tension in the fiberglass is what gives a snowboard its snap and pop. By adding this arched section into our core, we put that tension back into the fiberglass, giving the tips and tails of our anti-camber boards the pop and snap and stability of camber. So now I want to go over all the different levels of camber in the boards in our line. First, we have the MLF and ECA Pro model, which is our traditional camber board in the line. This features 6 millimeters of traditional camber. So at the center of the board, it's up off the snow 6 millimeters, and then tapers down to the contact points, and then runs into our radius to flat tips and tails. Next, I'm going to go over the anti-camber boards in our line. At the top end, we have the Devon Walsh Pro model, which features 2 millimeters of anti-camber. So with Devon's board, it's practically a flat board. The flat surface runs from just outside of the contact points at either end of the board. So the whole entire center of the board is flat. And then there's just a slight lift at the contact points, only 2 millimeters, and a small surface of anti-camber. That's on the Devon Walsh Pro model. On the Lowry Pro and Tone models, we have the next level of anti-camber. This section comes back from the contact points about 20 to 30 millimeters depending on the size, and then lifts off the snow 4 millimeters, and then the center of the board from just outside of your feet, tip to tail, is flat. So that's the 4 millimeter anti-camber on the Tone and Lowry. The next level, and the most forgiving and most playful, is on the PBJ model. With the PBJ, we have 6 millimeters of anti-camber. This runs all the way from the contact point all the way back to your stance pattern. So from the bindings to the tip, the contact points are lifted 6 millimeters at the tip and tail. That's on the PBJ and Focus models. Our women's anti-camber is featured on the Biddy. It is similar to the Tone in that it's runs about 30 to 40 millimeters back from the contact points. It's lifted off the snow 3 millimeters because of the shorter lengths on the women's boards. So that's the Biddy anti-camber. So the newest series in the DC Snowboard line is the Ply model. This was developed along with our team riders Torstein Horgmo and Aaron Bittner, who both have pro models within the series. The Ply boards is a totally new approach to a traditional camber board. The camber story we call lock and load. It's actually kind of the opposite of anti-camber in that it has traditional camber from just outside of the contact points through the center of the board, and then a 30 to 40 millimeter section at the contact point is flat. What this does is creates a very stable platform for powering up ollies, getting extra lift. It also gives you a stable platform for pressing onto boxes, pressing onto rails, so you're able to lock in and load it up. So that's the lock and load camber. It also features some forgiveness similar to an anti-camber board or a rocker board as well, because when you land and you depress the camber, the contact points, those flat sections, will actually kick up off the snow just slightly. It brings that contact point off the snow, makes the board more forgiving, so it has kind of the advantage of anti-camber, but then still has that pop and snap feel of a camber board. So that's the lock and load on the new Ply. Ply also is available in men's and women's models as well. I have one of the women's ones right here. So that is our new ply series.